This Chicago White Sox team preview episode of Dad's Bet Baseball is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, HOFapp.com. If you are under 30, then you're probably watching this on YouTube and you can use the QR code. If not, HOFapp.com, use code DADS, 50% off for the first month, 7-day free trial. We use it all the time. We use it especially for first half totals. We used it a lot during college football. Been cooking actually on it lately with some shot props. It works extremely well with handy graphs as well. If you like to deep dive into data and be a nerd about stuff, it's great. And for baseball, there's no off season on that website. You can look up any player and see their hit rates on any stat and any prop that you want to look at. So Hall of Fame Bets, HOFapp.com, use code DADS. For friend of the pod, sponsor of the pod. We love them. With that, we are very honored to have Sam Panayotovich. How are you doing, buddy?
You see the hat, right?
Yeah.
The hat for the show about the team we're going to preview.
It's great. No, it's great. Well, like before we get in, I was mentioning this to CJ that we haven't done a pod together, but we know each other and stuff. But Sammy's also responsible for probably, I'm going to gas him up early, but the greatest betting article that I've ever, this is one of the greatest articles I've ever read, where it was 3 or 4 years ago, he capped the Rocky Drago fight. And it's just it's amazing. It's one of the most amazing articles I've ever read. It's pinned on his Twitter if you ever want to read it. But once a year I go and I definitely read it again, because it's in my opinion, your best work. So we're really happy to have you here. An actual Chicago resident, an actual White Sox fan-ish, and we want to get into it. But first, what we'll do is let's talk about this team over the last couple years. So 61 wins in 2023, 41 wins in 2024, and then they bumped all the way up to 60 wins, which, spoiler alert, got me very excited. Their pi tag was 71. They had a 19 win improvement.
Was that the largest pi tag, I think, of all of the teams that we were looking at?
It's the largest jump for sure.
Yeah,
but it's a lot.
It's like them and the Rangers were the
huge.
two biggest deltas on pi tag.
Yeah. And they had a lot of, and then look, as soon as we saw that, CJ and I were in on this team very early with in September. We're have you noticed that this team has started hitting, and Colson Montgomery's cool and all these young guys are great. And then we looked at who they brought and who left. So going through this roster, probably the biggest thing is they got Murakami from Japan, power hitter. We'll see how this works, because he doesn't really do well against fastballs, apparently, or that are above 95 miles an hour. But that is a big deal that he did not go to a big contending team. He went to the White Sox. So Anthony Dominguez, 2-year deal. Anthony K. Jordan Hicks. This team loves trading with the Red Sox. Came over from the Red Sox. Austin Hayes, nice glue guy. Luis Angel Acuna with the deal with the Mets for Luis Robert.
Switch hitter.
Yeah. Noted switch hitter. Sean Newcomb, low-key also another guy who I like. Eric Fetty, the guy affectionately known as White Dom Brown, Jared Kalenic, and guys who have left. Martin Perez went to the Braves. I had no idea. All right. Well, Martin Perez, Tyler Alexander, Michael Taylor finally retired, so we can no longer bet his batter K's. Miguel Castro, Mike Tauchman, and obviously Luis Robert went to the Mets. So with all that, this is a team that we have seen every year. A couple of years ago, setting the record for futility. Nobody really likes this team. So I want to start with Sammy. What do you remember about betting on or against or with this team last year?
Well, last year we bet them a lot in August and September, because they started to call a lot of these younger kids up, and there's a lot of effort there. When you have bad major leaguers that are playing for a contract, I don't think that's a team you want to bet on. Whereas you have a 21, 22, 23-year-old who's trying to grow with the organization. Those guys are a little more fun to bet on, and we were getting them at big prices. You get them at 2-1 or 2.25 or 250. So if you win 1 out of 3, you're in a decent spot. So I don't think you're going to get those prices this year. I think they're going to be one of those wise guy teams on a day-to-day basis, depending on who's on the hill. But if you look at their lineup, when we get through, the trade deadline, I expect there to be 6 or 7 major league bats in this lineup. 2 years ago, there were 2 or 3. Last year, there were 4 or 5. So you can see the progress, obviously. And as you guys mentioned, they had a huge hike up in the win total from 41 to 60. Not the win total, but the wins registered.
Yeah.
So to hop that many wins is a big deal. And I know that they haven't cracked this win total, 67 or 68, in a long time, in 3 full seasons. But there's a reason that they won 60, and the number is still on the 7, 8, 9 high side, right? And the Westgate and Circa were as high as 69. We did bear bets a couple weeks ago, and Bear was like, well, what do we do with the White Sox? I'm like, well, you bet over the low numbers and under the high numbers.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you do. And I think, let's see, the best number now on the total, you can get 66.5. There's a lot of 67.5, 68.5, and then the Vegas books are 69 or 68.5. So, that's a long way of me saying like they should be better. I think the top 4 in the lineup is really solid with Mydroth, Teal, Colson, and Murakami. Now, if Murakami's Adam Dunn, they're going to go into the win total. But if he can be an average major league power bat, they can win some games. And most importantly, they can compete in the second tier of what should be a very weak division in the bottom half, right? Like the Tigers are legit. The Royals should be really good. The Twins could just blow.
I completely agree with you. I remember you mentioned that too. Like we said the same thing. I think the floor on the Twins is if
we'd be betting them for worse record if the If the Rockies didn't exist, this would be a bet.
I'll tell you what, 2 years ago we did bet White Sox worst record because I was like, they're going to trade everybody good, and that you could see it coming. Like they were on the end of the plank and they were about to get pushed in. Like the Sharks were swarming. That's not the case. They're not going to get worse at the deadline. They're going to bring better players up. And I think people have to pay attention to their minor league system. They've got a couple lefties they really like. Noah Schultz, who's 22.
Schultz looks good in spring training too.
The Red Sox in 5 years after Sale and Crochet. Like we just keep drafting. Like I'm on the team. Draft a really good lefty, develop them, and then trade them to Boston. That's what they do. And then Hagen Smith, who was a first-round pick out of Arkansas. Like those two are both knocking on the door. So if you can finally push Eric Fetty out after 10 starts, good. If you can push out Sean Burke after 10 starts, good. And you're going to have some high volatility starts from guys like Schultz and Hagen Smith. And another guy to pay attention to is Tanner McDougal, who's probably more of a bullpen guy, throwing about 99, 100. But they like their arms for sure. And the bullpen should be legit. I don't think it's anywhere near elite, but Dominguez, Leisure, Grant Taylor, Mike Vassell, and then maybe a McDougal, you have a pretty solid young bullpen of guys that throw hard and that throw a lot of strikes. The issue hasn't been pitching for the White Sox. The issue has been the lineup. It's been horrible. But, there's a potential to win 70 games or more here for sure.
Yeah, this was the first win total we bet out of the gate. Like we hammered it at 62, like right away. And
I think we immediately played a unit, and then you texted me like, I'm putting another.
I was like, we're putting more on this.
This is way too low.
And but that was the thing. I mean, they talked about Vassell, like they've talked about finding a way for him in the rotation if it works out. Like, I mean, Schultz spring training right now has been just pretty like electric overall. So, I mean, are there guys, I remember last year towards the end, actually some of the guys like Sean Burke walks was a thing for me that I was always betting. And, Shane Smith in the last, down the stretch was like a good K prop. Was there a guy, and is there a market that you kind of are going to look at maybe either player wise or team wise with the team just in general from a day to day, you think?
Well, I'd be curious to see how they juice these Mydroth hit props. Yeah. I think he's a guy who makes a lot of contact. He doesn't really whiff a lot. He puts the ball in play. And if his BABIP is on the high side, he's going to be a guy who's going to be in the conversation for, a hit a night. So we'll see what that gets to. I mean, opening day, he might be, I don't know, minus 160 to get a hit. And then by May or June, maybe he's minus 220. Now, that's not something I'm looking to bet every night, but people like to bet certain things in certain games. You want to bet a couple props. You want to parlay props. People love the parlay props. I mean, on DraftKings and FanDuel, I feel like that's all people do. Here's my slip of 6 things to happen tonight. I'd be looking at Mydroth. Now, that's not exactly a hot take because he's their leadoff hitter, but I like his ability to put the bat on the ball. And that's a guy that I think could be, very cheap early in the season and then relatively expensive by the time you get through July and into August. And then Murakami, let me tell you this on him. So when I called to the Westgate, this would have been like 6 weeks ago, and I talked to Randy Bloom, who does all their baseball. He's super sharp. He said, we're very high on the Sox and we're going to open higher than market. And I was like, well, how high? You know, because I'm watching 66 and 67s and 67 and a half. So I'm like, how high? You know, how high do we go? And he's like, higher. So I'm like, great. Didn't get an answer, and then they opened, I think, 69. And now they've taken a little sharp money under, but I mean, it might get bet back up. We got some time to go. They're high on the Sox. They like their pitching staff. And they also took a bet from a very, very sharp guy on Murakami at 100-1 to lead the league in homers.
That's fun.
Wow.
I'm not saying it's going to happen because it's probably not, but I bet it. I did it. I mean, and then, every time you see him do something, like whether he makes contact or did he hit a grand slam in the World Baseball Classic?
Yeah.
You're like, yep, that's my guy. And then
I know. Well, it's all these guys, all these World Baseball Classic guys. Like I'm having flashbacks to Trey Turner a couple years ago, who had like the Captain America level USA run, and then was so bad out of the gate that he needed a standing ovation to like turn his entire season around. But yeah, like, look, I'm with you. Like, it's funny you mentioned my drop because I have the text that I sent to CJ, and then I'll let CJ has a couple things, but I had said to you when we were going through this team, we were going through guys in our data that we really want to take for like hits leader, and I couldn't find a single year-long thing on him. And I'm like, dude, this guy gets on base, doesn't K. His all of his metric, all his stuff is exactly like you said. Like, he's going to get hits, and I couldn't find anybody hanging anything for him. And it's just that's one of those guys. I agree that just sort of is going to make some things go. CJ, what?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're totally right, Sam, in that the guys that you would hope, or you would like think, oh, they're on the White Sox, you're going to get value on them just because they're on the White Sox. Like, I think most people have sniffed that out. Like, you're not going to get that on Montgomery. You're not going to get that on Kyle Teal. You're not going to obviously get that on Benintendi. Sosa was actually a pretty good player for them too last year. Like, that shouldn't be forgotten either. But yeah, I mean, I would agree on the Mudroth stuff. I think that Acuna's interesting. I've always, as a Mets fan, seen him as more of a platoon guy, but it's also, there wasn't really ever room for him to be a full-time player. So I would be interested to see kind of from a steal market side on day to day if he's somebody on the White Sox that I would be targeting. I think bullpen wise, you nailed it. Like, I actually love Dominguez in that bullpen. Underrated guy, and they should be able to like at least have a decent bullpen for the first half of the season. Here's my thing. Like, you kind of called this out already, Sam, but at the deadline, is this team actually buying, or is this team still trying to load up because they are, let's face it, they're at least 1 year, probably 2 years away from like seriously competing. Because you get to the deadline, even if you're 10, 12 games under 500, they're still playing better. I absolutely can still see them selling because of the prospects that they also are willing to call up. And it's my one thing that makes me nervous on, from like a win total season long perspective, on like being really high on them, is that this team, unless they have to surprise early and they have to kind of like, run out of the gates quick in order for me to think that ownership, which traditionally has never wanted to buy anything, is going to want to actually invest in this team this year.
This is not an aggressive front office. That ended when Kenny Williams left a handful of years ago. They're very, very conservative. They're not going to put their balls on the table. The guys you're thinking about in terms of departures at the deadline, say Austin Hayes somehow has 15 home runs in May. His ass is grass. He's gone, right? Because you can part with that. He's going to be 31 really soon. Like, that's not a long-term building block. They're not going to buy at the deadline, but they're not going to trade, guys in their early to mid 20s to try and win a wild card
Montgomery,
spot.
Teal,
they're Teal. Like, those guys are going to be, they're good. But Benintendi they could probably get rid. I mean, he's
good. Get him the fuck out.
Yeah,
like, it's
right.
time for him to leave. Like, he's, the Andrew Benintendi has the most expensive contract in White Sox history. Like,
does he really?
That's how sad it is. So if guys like that, sad. And again, there's a guy who's going to be 32 in a couple of months. If Hayes, if Benintendi, if guys like that are putting together solid seasons, they're gone. Because you're going to look at a market where, because of the expanded postseason, a lot of these teams that are on the fringe think they have a chance. So if I can get a righty bat or a lefty bat, Let me go out and get that guy I can bring off the bench, or a guy that can start every third or fourth day. Those are the guys that are going to leave at the deadline. But they're not in a position where they're going to trade any young bats or any young arms. Like that's not what they are. That's not their identity. I don't know that they're going to get better at the deadline, but they're certainly not going to get worse.
Is the vibe on this team, like what's the vibe like on this team though overall in like Chicago? Like is it sort of like Bears coming out of hibernating kind of thing of like, oh my God, this team like it's like Major League. Hey, this team may not be that bad. Like, or is it just sort of like, is it still improve it territory?
Well, that's every year. And the fans go every year. And I grew up on the South Side, so I know how this is. And then I covered the team for 7 years.
Yeah.
The fans go opening day, the home opener, and then the second game, there will be 8,000 people there. And fans won't go until the team has a pulse in like early June. Then they'll start to actually go to the ballpark. So it's always been a prove it to me franchise where you take the Red Line to Addison, it's like that place is packed all April and May, unless the Cubs start 20-40, which isn't the case anymore given how they spend money now. But I definitely think it's a wait and see. It's a prove it to me now. I mean, look, this is I think on the ceiling it's a 500 team. Although I do know some guys that were poking some division bets. I mean, there was a 21 at Westgate and I think a 23 at Circa to win the AL Central. And DraftKings and MGM were at 40. And, one of my guys said they should not be 40.
Yeah.
Like, is it going to win?
I mean, I think Sam,
we did it. Like, yeah, they the same odds as the Rockies.
They play in the most vulnerable division, in my opinion, in all of Major League Baseball. Like, we think the Tigers are good. I think that team also has a lot of flaws. We did our Guardians pod with Gab last week. There's some things I like about the Guardians. There's also a lot of reasons why I can be low on the Guardians. And we also talked about how we think the Twins are going to stink. Royals, we expect to be better. But again, another team that seems to me deeply flawed. If the White Sox were playing in the AL East, which we think is going to be a behemoth, if they're playing in the West where you got to still deal with the Mariners, that would be a real problem. But for being in that division, like 40 or 50 to 1 for them to win the division is not like completely insane, because I think it's a team that like you could actually win this division with like 85 wins. That's the type of
we took that because that was I think that the logic that we both had on it, because we were going through, it all started with it started actually with, hey, can the Angels make the playoffs? And CJ said no, but we can talk about it. And what we started going through, like, okay, of these teams that have there aren't a lot of teams with long odds to make the playoffs, but the you looked at what the Rockies' odds were to do things. The White Sox stuff was way closer to that. And like CJ said, the division is way more volatile because of just how things, I mean, the Guardians made up a 15-game deficit last year. Like, anything can really happen in that division. This isn't any of those other ones. So, yeah, I mean, we poked, and we'll see what happens. But it's just, I completely can I am bracing myself for, look, just could be just a 500 team. We'll just kind of deal with that.
Well, they would love to be 500, when the models and the Vegas guys have them winning about 67 or 68. Yeah, I mean, they'd take that as a win. I mean, no organization wants to admit that. You want to compete every year, but like they know what they are, and they know the back end of this rotation is junk. I mean, Eric Fetty had an ERA, I want to say at one point in his last turnaround with the White Sox. I remember I was looking at the daily card, and I'm like, oh, Eric Fetty's ERA is 8. That's awesome. Like, we want that guy back. Like, he shouldn't be in the majors anymore. They just got warm bodies right now. And I mean, I had one guy say, well, watch out for Anthony Kay. Yeah, okay. All right. He's going to turn it around at 31, I guess. That hasn't really happened since Don Cooper left. I mean, Don Cooper turned a couple guys around as a pitching coach for a long, long time in the 90s and 2000s. But I mean, I don't think that you're going to have these major reclamation projects. The problem is, like, with the rotation that I see right now on Fangraphs, they're saying it's Smith, and obviously they announced him the number 1. Smith, Davis Martin, Sean Burke, Anthony Kay, Eric Fetty. Like, if Smith isn't what they think he is, they could lose, 3 or 4 out of 5 easily. Like, that's the reality. So there's a lot of pressure on Shane Smith to be that guy. And I like Smith. I think his changeup is exceptional. And he does a good job keeping guys off balance. But this is such a young lineup and a very, very, very weak rotation at the back half. Like, you're talking about price-wise, when Kay and Fetty are on the hill, they're going to be massive dogs. And those guys aren't going to win a lot of games because they don't go deep in games. So I'd love for them to make the playoffs. I'd love to come on the show and say, bet them at 16-1 to make the playoffs. But I think the safe bet is over the win total. If you could find that 66.5, fire that. If you want to take a long shot, okay, make the playoffs maybe 16-1. But again, there's a range there. So I'm looking right now. DraftKings has 16. Rivers has 12. FanDuel has 11. MGM has 10. And there will be people that only have MGM and they're going to bet the 10, right?
Yeah.
Instead of betting the 16 and making that $100 bet 1,000 instead of 1,600. So price sensitivity is more than half the battle sometimes. That's not a bad flyer bet on top of the Murakami 100-1 home run king. Yeah. But I don't think there's a lot of long-term ways to bet this team, unfortunately. I don't.
No, I didn't. We didn't have anything. I mean, I didn't. Yeah. Well, I didn't. That was when I was looking at stuff, I had so much that was on like this team to just get over, just to get to 70. Like we took it like, because when we opened, like the alt was just like, it was like 2-1 for them to have like 72. We just kind of laddered it a bit. But then I started looking at folks. There was a little bit that had me interested, sort of like at certain points I was interested in Colson Montgomery, but not really. Like the reality is that I like your Murakami home run leader bet more than I like Colson Montgomery to hit 30, because like only 3% of the entire league hits 30 or more home runs. Like people think everybody does it, but they don't. And so I didn't end up taking really anything else on that thing. CJ, you were about to, I don't know if you added.
Well, I was going to say also, I like that as well on Murakami, Sam, just because like if you're going to play him for rookie of the year, what is this guy going to do? Like the one thing everybody knows that he's going to do is he's going to hit dingers. So if he's going to be rookie of the year, then the better price would be playing like something crazy like that, like home run leader. And I'm not somebody that usually is in on betting position players for rookie of the year preseason, because I think you just have a better path usually with pitchers. You don't need as big a sample size as you do with position players. Only other thing I'd point out, day to day, at least betting this team, and I'm just noting it down now so we don't forget, team total bases, day to day market. I'm in on that. This team was still top 15 in WOBA, BABIP, and they were top 10 in K percentage second half of last season. And we expect that this lineup should get better and has more reinforcements. It should be I guess the more common on the K rate will be a little bit higher. But if these guys continue to develop, like you always want to see out of young guys in a lineup that they're not striking out as much and they're making contact. This is exactly what got me interested in this team at the second half of last season. So team total bases, like team total overs, you don't have to worry about the starting pitching in that sense. Like if Shane Smith comes out, sucks, whatever. I still think that the lineup might be a little bit undervalued in those day-to-day markets. I don't know if there's another market though, like that I'm interested in betting long-term, to be honest, other than that win total as well. Like I don't think it's worth betting like a division finishing price that I've talked about on a couple of other pods. I think there's just, I'm not in the central. Not in the central. No, it's like you want to, the reason I like that in the AL East was it's a team that we expect to be good, like Toronto with 88.5. And I think that there's a lot of paths where they could finish fourth or even fifth in that division. Not in the central. It's not as valuable to me there.
Yeah, I think though over $1.62, they could definitely be a money-making team. Like I wouldn't be surprised one bit if you look up at the end of the year and the White Sox are, again, like 73, 75 wins or something like that, and they've made you like 10 units or something like that. Like not that everybody's going to bet them day to day, but I wouldn't be surprised if you're cashing constantly at 150 or 160 or even higher, like you could churn butter for sure and only win like 75 games. Like we've seen like a lot of times, some of those teams like the Nationals of years past where they win, 75 games, but you hit 10 of those at 2.25, and that's, 22 units, right? And then when you lose, you're only losing the 1 unit. So you're definitely not going to get them as a favorite a ton. Like that's not going to happen. And then one more thing on the Murakami point, like it's very similar because I have buddies that are very good at betting golf. And I always fuck with them because like when we get to the Masters or the Players or whatever, like they're giving me guys at 100-1 and that like don't make the cut, right? And then I'm like, well, I kind of like John Rahm. And they're like, nope, can't bet it. And then he wins, right? And you're like, of course, So like when you think about Murakami at 100-1, it's a price. Like, you're betting the price. I think the price should be closer to 50, not 100.
Sure.
But you still got to outslug a guy like Aaron Judge, who's going to hit 49 or 50 home runs. So a lot of those long shot bets obviously don't win, but people love to bet bad numbers that don't win. Like, it happens in golf all the time. Well, I bet that guy at 80. How'd he finish? 8 over, right? Like, oh, good number.
The win equity is what I hear all my golf friends say. It's a win. He doesn't have win equity, so I'll only do this thing and do that. Yeah. So yeah. Look, it's a good bet. I'm probably gonna jump on that. All right. So putting a bow on this, CJ, over under. We'll call it 69. We'll call it 68 and a half. Because that's the best one that's out there. Over under on that.
I'm over. I'm over on 68 and a half.
Sammy, you are.
I mean, there's 67 and a half at DraftKings and MGM. So can I take those instead?
Yeah. You take the bet. We have 60. We have 62. So totally. Whatever you want to call it. Give the. You can actually. What would you take it up to?
I mean, I think it's 60. 68 would be probably my ceiling, because you see the resistance at 69. Like, that has definitely been a thing. And when we had that combo on Bear Bets, I think DK was at 66 and Circa and Westgate were at 69. And I'm like, well, those books take big wagers from winning players because they want to shape their market. So if they're hanging 69s and the rec books are 66, 67, like, this could very realistically land 68. So I would play it up to 68. I hate to nickel and dime you, but I mean, the White Sox could be on 65 wins with 7 games to go.
Well, Sam, the two teams that have had the biggest delta in win totals since preseason, that would be the Chicago White Sox and Pittsburgh Pirates, right?
Yeah.
Is one of those two teams is going to fuck someone over. I'm just telling you this right now. Like, you're going to get a great number on them. One of those two teams will break your heart. So it's either going to be the White Sox or the Pirates. I tend to believe it probably will be the Pirates, but it's going to be, to me, a very unlikely scenario. You're going to see both, like, the White Sox and Pirates both go well over their win total this season. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, for sure. One other thing in the division, since I do love the division and I've been in it my whole life, I do think this is the year that we see another step forward from Bobby Witt Jr. It's tough to go against Judge, and it's also very tough in the other league, in the NL, to go against Ohtani. But I think Bobby Witt 6-1 or higher for MVP is a really good bet this year, and that's something that I would definitely advocate for. Yeah,
that first of all, he obviously looked great. Like, he's looked great this entire WBC. He's like leading the team in barrels. He's just I was close. We ended up on the Gunner side, the Gunner and we're on the Gunner Roman train. But again, like, the thing with Witt on why it's a great MVP bet, premium position. Like, all these, like, that is huge, especially if the Royals win the division.
He's going to be, I think he could be an 8 or a 9 WAR player. Like, that's, I think, his ceiling this year, and that might be enough.
Nice. Sammy, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, it's very simple. Just follow me on X at SPShoot. We do Bear Bets. I write for Fox, and then Chicken Dinner. So that's where you can find me. And here I might be seeing you next week, by the way.
Yeah. We're gonna we'll have some fun. We'll have some fun at the Westgate. All right. So we have actually 6 teams left. I don't even have to say that we're halfway through all these previews. We have 6 teams left. We have scheduled them all out.
3/4. I think we can confidently say we're 3/4.
We are 3/4 of the way through. We're actually recording the Cubs right after this, which with Ben Heifler. Look, for CJ and for Sam and for producer Spencer, I'm Adam. Again, thanks to our sponsor, Hall of Fame Bets, hofapp.com. Use code DADS. We are chugging along 3/4 of the way through, and stick around for more Dads Bet Baseball.